particularly important right now. So important that if you haven't implemented it, I basically want you to drop what you're doing and implement it right now. Hello and welcome back to my channel where I help you slay your career and cultivate the successful life you deserve. I know a lot of you have been working from home over the last few months. And because of everything going on, even if you have gone back into the office, you might be working from home again soon. And one of the most common struggles that I've noticed when I'm chatting with you guys in the comments and when I'm working with my clients is how hard it is to have work-life balance when you work from home. Having work-life boundaries is crucial when you're working remotely, especially when you know you don't want work consuming your life. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some work-life balance tips that you can implement today, starting right now, that are going to help you get some of that me time back. Sound good? If it does, tap that like button, because not only does it tell me that you're ready, it also tells YouTube that more people need these work-life balance tips in their life, and that makes you a hero. With that all squared away, let's jump into it. My first work-life balance tip is all about time. This is the most frequent mistake that I see people make when they're working from home, and it really corrodes work-life balance, where you kind of end up working all the time. If that sounds familiar, let me know in the comments down below. Even though you're working from home, you should have set office hours. Because I'm someone who worked in tech with flex hours, and I know that, your day can start and end at different times based on your mood and the business needs. What I generally recommend is setting a start by time and an end by time. I find particularly having an end by time very useful because this time is your signal to close it down for the day, and I'm going to come back to that later, so make sure and stay tuned. And that leads me actually to my next work-life balance tip, and in my humble opinion, this is the most important work-life balance tip when you are working from home. When you work from home, it is crucial that you have a designated workspace. As a longtime New Yorker, I know that this is a luxury that not everyone has. I mean, it's easy enough when you have a big old house and a designated office space, which I'm very lucky to personally have right now. However, when I started working from home, I was in a little one-bedroom apartment in Hell's Kitchen. I did not have space for even a desk, so I worked from my kitchen table. So if you're in a small space, that's not a problem. There are solutions like having a fold-down desk or just a designated spot at the dining table that is going to be your work spot. Once you've established that designated workspace, refrain as much as possible from working in other places, unless you know that a location swap might actually make you more productive, like going and working from the couch. Having a designated workspace is going to help signal to your brain that it is work time, and it's also going to help you switch off your work brain at the end of the day. That said, I wish it were actually that simple. Having a designated physical workspace isn't the only thing that we need to talk about. We're up against something way more complicated when it comes to work-life balance. And if you neglect this next work-life balance tip, well, you'll stay consumed by work 24/7. The next work-life boundary that you need to set is with technology. Especially when you work from home and it is so easy to just work all of the time, unplugging from your work technology is crucial. In an ideal world, you have separate tech for work than you do for personal, like a personal laptop versus your work laptop. But in the real world, I know that sometimes it is going to be the same laptop, the same phone, or the same boat. In that case, utilize different profiles to help you distinguish work from personal. And when you do that, you can actually do things like switching notifications off or logging out of the profile altogether when it comes time to unplug for the day. At the beginning of this year, my husband and I started to implement having a digitally dark night once a week. So at 8 o'clock, all of the devices turn off. Obviously, we're not perfect about it, but for the most part, we do comply with it. And it tends to be our favorite night of the week because not only are we getting to hang out and actually talk to each other, but it also tends to be a night that you get to restore and do things like read and just not worry about work. So far, all of these work-life balance tips have really been work-life boundary tips and helping you set the parameters to distinguish your work life from your personal life, even when it's all happening in the same space. However, there's different facets of work-life balance, like going digitally dark, that we need to talk about. Which brings me to one of the most crucial and overlooked work-life balance tips that I have for you, especially when you're working from home. And this one is is particularly important right now. So important that if you haven't implemented it, I basically want you to drop what you're doing and implement it right now. To improve your work-life balance, you need to prioritize time for movement and, just getting outside the house. This work-life balance tip is not about implementing a strenuous 5-day workout plan. It's simply about getting outside and getting the blood moving a little bit, because when you're home, and especially when you're sitting down, that is really not good for you. Plus, one of the great things is when you are actually moving is that it's a great time for problem solving, ideas, and just to clear your mind. It can be really simple. Just go for a walk around the block in the middle of the day, or do an exercise video right here on YouTube during your lunch break. Now, my favorite way to fit this in doesn't work for every meeting, but if you have any of those meetings where it's not on video and you know for sure you're not going to participate, so something like an all-hands meeting, you can actually attend that while you get some movement in. Or even if you're having a one-on-one meeting, ask to make it a walking meeting where both of you get to enjoy the outside while you talk on the phone. Taking just a couple of minutes a day to implement this is going to make a huge difference. And that leads me to my work-life balance tip that is going to integrate the psychology of perception shifting, and that is to have a trigger. And that is both a trigger at the start of the workday and at the end of the workday. What this is a trigger that is going to tell your brain that it is time for work and it is time to close down. For example, your morning trigger might be making a cup of coffee and writing a to-do list, or looking at your email inbox. My personal favorite is taking time to prioritize tasks, and I have a video that breaks it down for you if you're interested. At the end of the day, I highly recommend closing everything down. Power down your device. If you're working from your kitchen table like I did back in the day, close down your laptop, put it in your laptop bag, put it away, make it all not visible. If you have a home office, close the door to it so that you're not seeing it. Having these triggers is essentially an activity pattern that is going to train your brain to actually context switch. And I'd love to hear from you what ideas you have for an activity that will help you pattern switch to start the day and to turn off that work brain at the end of the day. Of course, we don't want to underestimate the importance of having all of the right things and making our workspace comfortable. My next video is actually diving into some of my suggestions and favorite products for this. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And that brings me to my most important work-life balance tip when you are working from home, and that's making sure that you know exactly what you need to work on. This not only aligns with the priorities at your work, but it also should align with your UAQ, your unique awesomeness quotient. The more aware you are of the significant impact that you can make and where you need to overachieve at work, the less time you'll invest on all of the things that don't matter. If you want to deep dive into this and find out how you can have a higher impact while you work less, I highly recommend signing up for my workshop, Glow Up Your Career. I'll leave the link down below. And I promise if you attend, this is all going to be easy AF. But I don't want to leave you hanging waiting for that workshop. So what I want you to do is I want you to begin focusing on the things that really matter and finding where maybe you can do a little bit less. Go and check out this video right now to get that ball rolling. If this video was helpful, make sure and give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend who can use these work-life balance tips, and of course, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.